Well, folks, we made it to season 7. Welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast. I am your host, Josias Abriel, and published author. Speaking of published author, before the episode starts, make sure to go check out my books. They're available on Amazon, and the link is in the episode description below. Go ahead, get you some healing. One's a poetry book about overcoming pain and trauma and stuff like that, and then the other one's a self-awareness interactive journal notebook. So get you some healing. You're worth it. Another thing that you're worth all the love in the world. You're worth all the healing in the world, and I'm glad that you're here with us today to heal together. You are loved, you are valuable. This is your sign. Alrighty, enjoy the episode. Bye, folks. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Josias Abriel. With us today, we have Malisa. Hello, Malisa. Welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, thank you for being here. So, Melissa, before we get into today's topics, which will be more of a conversation, and I'll figure out a title by the end of it
Okay.
to put
I
on
love
the
that.
episode link. So, folks, I'm gonna let Melissa introduce herself first, and then what we'll do is we'll dive into it, because usually I like to say topics first, but this is going to be completely conversational. So
Okay.
don't need to start off with topics, folks, this time. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself. Any credentials? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. But I'm going to warn you that I'm not good at abbreviated versions of introductions of myself. Okay. I'm going to tell you, I'm probably about to spit out about 2.5 minutes of free form words.
Here we
Okay. Because
go.
that's the way my brain works. But I live in Oklahoma, was born and raised here. I experienced a very extensive history of childhood trauma. Like if you Uh, I say this on my profile, but if you're familiar with ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, I have the highest score you can have. So you can just imagine everything that falls under those umbrellas. I lost my parents young. My dad died of an overdose when I was 15. My mom died when I was almost 22 and pregnant with my first child of cirrhosis and hep C or complications from those. And then I spent my entire adult life kind of figuring out that my childhood trauma did impact me because I was one of those people who was like, I don't know, I think I'm fine. And B, how much the impact really was. And I reached a real profound period of darkness a couple of years ago, year and a half ago, I don't even know now, and wanted to die. I mean, truly. And this is kind of me choosing not to die, and probably for the first time in my life choosing to really live, to really pursue what I've always believed was my purpose, but in the most authentic version of myself, because I've always known what my purpose was. That's never wavered, but I wasn't pursuing myself within that purpose. And so this is kind of me on the other side of that.
Marvelous for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Folks, me and Melissa, we both have CPTSD. We're CPTSD sisters. So
We do. We
we
do.
do.
I didn't say I'm a therapist in Oklahoma. I'm a podcast host. I'm an author. I'm a public speaker. Those are my credentials.
Yes. And if Melissa sends me any links, I will put it in the episode description below so that you can check her out, check out her work, check out her podcast. You know we love to support here, folks. Um, yes. So before the episode's released, Melissa, I'll reach out to you and ask for if there's any links you want to send, any credentials you want me to address you by, because your first name will be in the title, but it's sometimes, people like to add doctor or
Oh,
LMS or
yeah.
something.
You know what? I don't I will include LCSW on
Okay.
bios that like
Licensed
I
clinical
need
social
to,
work.
but But honestly, for the most part, I don't believe it is those credentials that makes me so good at what I do.
Mm,
I think it's the fact that I have lived experience and
yeah,
I'm sharing the literal tools I've used to not
right.
just stay alive, but thrive. I mean, I hate when people do that. Survive to thrive, but that I mean, it's the truth. It's the truth. And so I don't
Yeah.
really care if we have any credentials on it or anything
Okay.
because I'm a human first, you know?
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Exactly. I love that. That's right. We're humans first. We all are.
Mhm.
Um, so you had mentioned now, folks, we're going to jump into some conversation. Now, for those who don't know what adverse childhood experience is, that's basically traumatic events that happen before the age of 18. Um, yes, so think of like the trauma, abandonment, neglect, sexual
Mhm.
abuse, physical abuse. Um, so my ACE score, my average childhood experience score is 5. Doesn't mean that I haven't experienced any of those things like just that one time. No, I've experienced them multiple times. It's just that
Mhm.
I took the ACE score that's just 10 questions. Um, but which is I believe is the more like the more used or the more known one, more common one.
Yes.
There you go. That's what
Mhm.
I'm, you know, can I ask what your score is? Just to kind of
10.
10. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that on the 1 to 10 ACE questionnaire?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so that kind of gives us folks listening an idea. Um okay, so thank you for sharing that vulnerability. So, can you take us through your story? Because I do know that, um, you decided to give life one more time after, your plan to leave and to transition from Earth. But you decided to give life one more time after that. But before we get to that, and share as much as you want. We respect boundaries here. What was your story before that?
Well, like, where do you want me to start? Like, where how I found myself in such a dark place, or, like, what adult life has been like, childhood? What do you want?
I would say more so like the journey that led up to everything.
Sure, just
Yeah,
kind of the turning point, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would if I'm being
Oh
honest,
yeah,
like,
and
yeah,
childhood as
yes.
well.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I'm glad you said that because the thing that has popped out to me the very most, and I keep coming back to anytime I'm sharing my story, but I haven't really talked about yet on the ACE questionnaire,
Mm,
one of the things that I didn't realize was such a traumatic experience. Like, I did know it impacted me greatly.
mm,
I didn't know I was allowed to feel that way. I know that that isn't the way we're supposed to frame things, but that's what I mean, I'm going to say but I think we all do this, but I had an entire life of minimalizing and trivializing all those experiences because
mm,
I could always find someone that had it worse.
mm,
I had a grandma who was willing to take us back every time our parents failed us.
mm,
And I know so many others didn't. And so it was hard for me to rationalize the fact that I was allowed to own my 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 headphones are ringing. That I was allowed to experience and own those experiences. So the one thing that really I just don't know that I've done enough exploration on is the pattern between the siblings that I was raised with and
mm,
myself and how traumatic it was to watch them within the different roles of this dysfunction.
mm,
And my older brother who is now schizophrenic and chronically unhoused because he doesn't medicate. He had so many struggles through our childhood and honestly some of the biggest traumas I had was the dynamic between him and my grandma because my grandma was a narcissist and he was the black sheep. immediately, like always. I was the golden child. And this loyalty that I felt to her, to where I couldn't sit with him in his pain when she would hurt him, not physically, but like I was always defending her, always whatever. He had multiple inpatient hospitalizations, several attempts,
Mhm.
lots of drug use, lots of rehabs. He got sent to some bad kid boot camp in Louisiana. We were in Oklahoma and was going great, then ends up stealing a car and running away. It was just like
Mhm.
those things after having been betrayed so much by my parents over and over, and then having these siblings repeat this pattern and just feeling the weight of the betrayal of them too. Because when you really like create this unit of trust with your siblings, because these are the people experiencing all this crazy with you, that level of betrayal is so painful, and I did not allow myself to feel that appropriately. So, I just wanna say that because I think that was the surprising thing about the ACE questionnaire. Nothing else surprised me, but when I looked at it, I was like, "Oh my god, I feel so seen." In the worst way possible, honestly, at that moment, but I was like, "Oh, okay, I get to count this as
Right.
things." So, my adult life, I only had like a little period of crazy in between, like when I got divorced, but it really more looked like me making all the right decisions for all the wrong reasons. So I moved out, like I turned 18. I turned 18 in June, moved out in August. I was attempted to start college. That didn't go well for a while. But met a boy. I had all these staunch religious programs. So like I lost my virginity to him, moved in with him the same week. And I was like, oh no, I mean, we're getting married. Because what my grandma said was if you marry the person you lose your virginity to, the sin is absolved. So I was like, easy peasy. We got this. We got this. Not in any way was this a person I should have married. I mean, I say that it wasn't the worst decision I've ever made, but
Mhm.
I definitely didn't know how to be in a relationship. This is my first serious relationship.
Mm.
Get married when I'm 20. My first child, my first two were planned. I planned to have a child at 22 years old. I am not hating on anyone who does that, but I don't know that we can be the best versions of our parent self at that age.
Mm.
I hadn't even learned how to take care of myself yet. So, and I know beautiful, wonderful parents who are young. I just think that the experience would be more sacred and better for myself if it had happened a little later. But I was doing okay. Like the second I had my kid, I got really serious about college, gave me a lot of esteem. For the first time in my life, I found out I was intelligent. I
Mm.
I had felt so stupid all of high school. Graduated high school with like a 1.7, something like that, because I had trauma brain, man. I could
Mm.
not focus because there was stuff. I mean, even though we lived with our grandma, first of all, my brothers were driving me insane with all the, breaking into my room, stealing stuff for drugs, stuff
Mhm.
like that. And my grandma was losing her mind and parentifying me and all the things. I just couldn't learn. But I found out I was smart. I'm making a 4 point in college. And then I graduate. I kind of hit a wall when I was finished with my master's because I was like, what now? You just go to work every day? I mean, literally, that was the most devastating feeling ever.
Mm.
But what it was my routine was gone. I had gotten really used to living my life in 16-week increments with breaks and knowing exactly what my schedule was and how to do this. I mean, for the first time in my life, I had felt good about how I was living. And so I I had my second kid when I was in grad school. So I was in the throes of postpartum depression anyway from a
Mhm.
traumatic birth experience. And over here just finished college and I'm like, I don't want to go to work every day like that. What? I know that sounds silly, but I was having like it just felt so meaningless. Like, well, how do you continue to strive just in a job? Even though I knew I wasn't going to do meaningless work. I mean, my degrees are in social work, but it still was like I think it was probably my first tap into like, no, but remember, you've always known like you were meant for more, but I didn't know what more was, and I didn't know how to like pursue that.
Mhm.
So I got a divorce, had a period of divorce crazies where I did a lot of dumb stuff, but I mean, that's fine. I didn't do it at 20, so it was within a safety net and it was fine. Got over that.
Mhm.
Got remarried, a great guy that I couldn't see how great he was because I was, creating a real circumstance of victimhood,
Mm.
but I was okay. I really was. Then I worked full time in hospice. Then I moved on to education because I was getting burnout in hospice because of going in people's homes.
Mhm.
Like I was just getting older. I had my third kid. I just didn't feel as safe. Like,
Mhm.
it just there was so much you never knew what to expect. And I just kind of needed some more consistency. I was having trouble with one of my kids in school, and I thought, I, you know what I think? I think I should be the type of teacher that I wish he had. So I went and became a teacher because in Oklahoma, you can go get an emergency certification depending on what your degrees are in. So I did that. That was the beginning of the end for me. Education was not a good place for me. I personally don't think it's a good place for anyone. I'm being very honest there. I think it's a honorable and noble profession, but I think from the top down, it's toxic and it's breeding toxicity. And you can't do anything in education without breaking yourself. So I lasted 3 years as a teacher, switched to school counselor. I loved feeling like I was making a difference in the moment, but the nature of education is you're never good enough. So honestly, in my all my other jobs, I had learned to rely on the external validation that I got.
Mhm.
I was very well respected as a social worker. I still am.
Mhm.
So to switch to education where I'm a total newbie, learning from ground zero around a bunch of toxic women. I mean, I'm just going to be real clear there. When unhealed women are mean, and I was mean too, and perpetuating the cycles, and I was just miserable.
Mhm.
And I just started to understand there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more because I feel on the periphery of every relationship I have. I feel like I love people more than they love me. I feel like I don't have any real true friends. I feel like I'm not anybody's person. Nobody loves me. All of these things that I'm just like sitting in all the time, not understanding that I really was just a victim of a world that I created
Mhm.
for myself. So now I know that the reason I reached this pinnacle of depression is perfectionism. Like the girl who wanted to die just felt like her kids were better off without her because she wasn't perfect. I mean, that's the truth. But I had all these like narratives just swimming around that were very loud. And like, so to the point that started to wonder, like, if I had schizophrenia, because
Mhm.
it was a lot. My brain was very noisy,
Mhm.
very noisy. And so that's kind of when I decided I had to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that what is that the moment where excuse me, well let me rephrase that. So is this around the time where you had made a plan to leave?
Yeah.
Okay.
So October of 2023, because I I left that job in May of 24, but October of 23, it just reached the height of everything.
Mhm.
And that's when I said, okay, I've made a decision. Like, I'm done. But my oldest child's birthday was like 2 weeks from then because we were on a fall break whenever everything was just going to hell in a handbasket. And I was like, well, I mean, let's get through the birthday. But then there's Thanksgiving, and then there's Christmas, and then it's my next kid's birthday. A couple of months later is my next. Like, I was literally looking through a calendar, and I decided on August because it was far enough away that it would take a little bit of pressure off because I had the whole plan in place, but it was going to require a little bit of acquiring things and, whatever. But also I was just like, okay, not around the holidays, not around, like, we can get through Christmas and have one last Christmas and whatever. Um, and once I set the date, I just felt so much relief for like 24 hours, I didn't even have to think about it anymore because that's the worst part is the back and forth
Mhm.
in your brain. Like something bad happens, it's a confirmation you should. Something good happens, it's not a confirmation that you shouldn't, but it does make you question, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so there was just so much back and forth in my brain. And I mean like hourly. It was the only thing my brain thought about.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember thinking about this girl who was like I don't know if she was an influencer or what because I didn't come across information about her until after her passing, but her name was Emily and she was a UK influencer. I don't remember why. I think she was on a TV show. I don't remember, but she ended up dying in this really tragic accident on like a e-bike. Um, but it made me go and scour her internet presence. And I remember her being very, she was a mental health advocate and she was very open about a hospitalization that she had. And she said, she called it a nervous breakdown or a mental breakdown. And she defined it as when that's the only thing you can think about. And I remember being like, oh, now I know what you mean by that. Because
Mhm.
that happened a few years ago. But I was kind of obsessed with her for a while because that's the way my brain worked. Like it just latched on to grief like that. But
Mhm.
I, that was me. That it was the only thing I thought about from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep. And it just took me a while to kind of be like, okay, this is it. It's not getting better. Not that I was doing anything to make it better. I mean, I thought I was. I thought I was trying really hard, but I didn't have any tools, none. I had some tools about how to regulate your nervous system. That's it. And you can't regulate your nervous system when you have no idea why it's dysregulated, you
Mhm.
know? Like
Mhm.
I can't even quiet the noise in my head, which was the single worst problem I was having,
Mhm.
honestly. Once I got that quieted down, everything shifted for me.
Mhm.
Then, I was lucky, I think, because I had, a real spiritual awakening during this point too,
Mhm.
where my consciousness just started expanding.
Mhm.
So, like, yes, there's this truth, but there's a higher truth too. And
Mm.
so yeah, I decided I was going to, but then because I had to put the date so far away, within a few days I was like not going to follow through. I knew that. Like setting the date really helped because it gave me so much relief. But because it was so far off, I was like, well, but you got to figure this part out. Like if you're going to stay alive till August, you got to figure this part out. And that was when it all started changing.
Mm. Yeah. Um, mm, that 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 that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, I'll be I know this is vulnerability time, but there is something that I cannot say right now. Um, but soon I will be reaching out to you and telling you why that what you just said was, it's beautiful anyways. It really is beautiful regardless, but like why that be it's like a different level of beautiful to me. So,
Well, I can't wait to hear about it.
yes, yes. So yes, I'm speechless, and it's in a good way. But yes, I'm speechless. So what month? This is just kind of like a side question, but kind of
Hmm.
not kind of a side question. So what month did you make the plan? Did you make the plan like 2 months before August?
October.
Oh, in October, and so
Yeah,
okay.
October 23. Yep. So the plan was that it would happen August of 24.
Hmm. And so, um, once that date was made, that's soon after you saw like shifts in life. Like, would you say
Yeah,
they
not big ones, not big ones.
right?
Like it was literally a decision
Mm,
to figure this out and it was horrible. I mean, I'm
mm,
not going to sugarcoat this because I still
right,
had zero tools.
right.
So, from October to January, that was late October. I
Hmm.
kind of just started like I'm just doing my best, right?
Yeah.
And we got Halloween, I got the kid's birthday, I got Christmas, I'm doing my best. January, I started to get creative.
Mm,
And because I knew in May I was going to leave my job, I knew flat out, like, we're done.
mm,
This is killing you, and no job is worth this. No financial security is worth this. So I started writing children's books. This was a weird, like, happenstance where my ex sister in law has these beautiful books, but she doesn't know how to get them illustrated. And I said, you could illustrate them yourself with AI. And I wanted to show her that it was possible. So I wrote a children's book and I self published it. I did all the stuff for it and used AI to illustrate. I've never tried to hide that, but um, and I published it. And then I I just kept doing that. Like I wrote 4 and I wrote another nonfiction book, like kind of little like self-help for younger women, you know. Um I did all these things. I just was getting in a creative flow. I opened a little online store. I started designing t-shirts for it, just like sitting around just thinking of funny stuff to put on a
yeah.
t-shirt,
Mm,
I found that I could get myself in a flow state with this newfound creativity because people used to be like, "Oh, you creative types," or I that's how I used to be to other people. And then someone said that to me, like after the book, and I was like, "I'm a creative? Like what?" Because I've never viewed myself. I knew I could write, but like I don't know. I just didn't view that as creativity.
yeah.
And so I was getting in this flow state. It'd be hours and I hadn't had a single thought about anything that I like was driving me crazy.
Mm,
So it was just there was a lot of hard days in there. Like my poor kids just experienced the worst version of me. They couldn't ask me for something without me just completely losing it because my shame would say the second they asked me for something, my shame would say, and here's another way you're failing them because you can't provide that
mm,
in some way, shape, or form. Like whether it was never like financial stuff, it was just more like they'd come out of the blue and be like, I've got this to do. And I had no nervous system left. I mean, I was fried. So, I mean, I was just crying for the first time in my life. I'm wailing all the time. It was
mm,
nuts. But I'd be having my little AirPods in and listening to some Noah Kahan or however you say his name. All these TikTok people that I found during that time, just listening to their sad music, but it felt so good to listen to. Now I can't listen to stuff like that because I just know it's not good for me. But
right, right.
I would just sit and
I
just
get
like
you.
play, designer on the computer for hours and
Mhm,
it saved me. Like, it was just like it was what I could do at the time. I still didn't
mm,
have any other tools. So it was just I call it like moving little pieces. I
mhm,
was heading in a direction
mhm,
and I knew that. And like I aired my first podcast episode the end of April that year.
mhm,
So the podcast is what saved me really because of a guest, but
mm.
I
Yep, I
I
know that.
literally was just whatever I could do, one little step at a time.
Okay, well, now I have to say it because of what you just said. Ooh, vulnerability time. Melissa, um, you might have saved me, I'm gonna be honest with you. Um,
Really?
yeah. So, folks, ooh, I cannot believe I'm saying this. Oh my gosh, just because, but I have in my planner a week to leave Earth to transition. I have it in my planner, and that's in 2 months. Um, I know y'all can't see, but maybe you can. No, you can't see.
Yeah.
It's not showing up on here. It's just not going to show up. But because I wrote it in pen and it's really thin, but I call it that's terrible. But I call it Dead
Did you
Week
call it
One.
dead week?
Dead Week One, Dead Week Two, because Dead Week One is just the maybe. It's me like more like prepping and stuff like that. Because y'all know
Yeah.
I've already, for those listening who've been following the podcast, y'all know I've already died before, and so I actually was looking forward to this. And then there's Dead Week Two, and that's when it's for sure gonna happen. But Dead Week One is more so like any last words I want to say, any goodbyes, any there are
It's like a final prep.
Yes, because and there
Yeah.
are three individuals that I do have I do want to just unleash the dark words. I want to
Oh,
unleash
yeah.
some profanity on some people. There's like three
Baby,
people.
listen,
And
I'm sorry, but I'm saying it. Fucking do it now. Fuck those people. Like you've given them way too much power. Obviously, if you're gonna wait until you're ready to die to tell them, fuck them.
yeah,
You tell them. You can edit all that out. I'm sorry,
no,
but
no,
no,
no, I'm
you
not gonna
tell
edit that
them.
out. It's fine. It's probability time. No, folks, she's not saying do it like kill myself.
No, no,
She's
I am
saying
not. I'm
she's
not.
saying like cuss them out. The thing is,
I am saying that.
this thing is like um one
I'm
of
sorry.
them,
You've gotten me emotional. I got to
they're
bake.
they're kind of my boss. They're kind of my boss, kinda.
Oh
And
God.
I'm just
I
like,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
really
I
love
know
the
it. I already get it. I
yeah,
get it's awful. It's
it's
awful.
awful.
It's awful. And I had
Yeah,
that too. So
yeah.
yeah, I totally get it. But if there is any amount of separation that you can get spiritually and emotionally, just pivot and look at it from a different angle, you will see you have so many more options than you think you do. We
Mhm,
get so stuck in security. Like, I, and thank you, because you're reconfirming this for me. I will take not knowing how the hell I'm going to pay my bills and my car payment every fucking month for the rest of my life over not knowing if I can make it to August. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
I absolutely see now that I only did all of those years in education. First of all, I knew I hated it this first day of school, my first year. I hated it, but my pride and my because I was like, well, everybody knows though, they know. And this other girl, good for her. And I was hating on her so hardcore. Megan, I don't even remember your last name, but good for you, girl. She quit. She quit that first week. She sure did. And I was making fun of her because she, had the guts to do what was best for her and I didn't. Like, and let that be a lesson too. That is truly the only reason people hate on you is because
mhm,
they see something in you that they want for themselves
mhm,
that they don't feel like they have access to, which is why I lost most of my friends when I made this journey
mhm,
because they couldn't rise with me. They
mhm.
couldn't handle seeing me in this just I wasn't available to them the way I used to be.
Right, right.
And so,
Mhm,
because I had surrounded myself with a bunch of emotionally unavailable people, made sure of that so that I could keep
mhm,
them like separate from me and never really share any of my stuff with anyone.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that
you're
because
welcome.
that is very meaningful to me. And if I can be any sort of support to you, I want to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will say I told I had a, deep, serious conversation. And the thing is, like, now that I've shared the hardest part, which I've only shared with two other people, not necessarily because, like, it's with them, like, I'm totally fine with being vulnerable, totally just fine with being vulnerable to like that extent, you know? Um, but on this podcast, I feel as though like, many of the listeners like look up to me and I know that, in society we are kind of taught a broken view of death. And so
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
are, we are.
Well,
It's
yeah, and I can understand you not wanting to feel like you don't want to let somebody down by
mhm,
them hearing that you, who are trying your best to spread positivity,
mhm.
are having these types of thoughts
Yeah.
too. But you're
Mm,
just showing your humanity, honey. Like
that's
it's
true.
always better to lead with that and to lead with exactly who you are in any given moment than because I think the betrayal that your listeners and your friends and family and the people who love you that they would have felt after listening to you and getting hope from you
Mhm,
and then you do it,
mhm,
like I think they'd much rather be here for your journey and to be a support for you than to afterwards wonder if you meant anything you said. I know you mean everything you say. I
Mhm.
know the show is saving you. I know that.
Mhm.
But that's just the people around us that love us or support us or are learning so much from us. I'm not afraid to say I still got lots of psycho moments, like I'm
Mhm.
not perfect, but that's the point.
Mhm.
Is like getting to a place where you're 100% fine with being exactly who you are. For so long, we've held ourselves to these crosses because we call it accountability. We say, "Oh, we must punish ourselves to death
Mhm.
if we make a mistake." But we don't have to. The whole point in this journey is just to get really comfortable with fucking up a lot. That's the whole point.
Mhm.
And the more I embrace that, the happier my life becomes. Because what I got to be worried about?
I needed to hear that. I needed to hear specifically that. That's how I know that's like higher powers, just
Mhm.
listening. Because that is definitely something. Yeah, I told the universe, I was like, well, universe, you have 2 months. I'm gonna, continue to spread as much love, hope, positivity that I can. I am ready to go home. I am, but I was like, and by home, y'all know I mean to the other side again.
Mhm.
However, I have attempted 3 times. One of the times it was a complete attempt. I mean, it was complete, and that's when I went on the other side and came back. The other 2 times, it, I go to for example, this previous time, Melissa, was last year. Whenever 2024 was, what year is this? 2025?
Yep, that was last year.
2024 in February. And I just, after I took all the pills, like I just knew once again that the higher powers, they're not going to let me go. I just knew that. And so I took almost 30, I think over 30 pills. I go to the
Damn.
hospital, they say, it doesn't look like you did. You just have like small inflation, like you've just been eating a lot of limes and spicy foods. And I was like, I knew it. I was like,
Can
I,
you be honest
I
with
knew
me?
it.
I have a question because I this is a question I
Yeah.
oftentimes have wanted to ask people in this situation.
Mhm.
Were you like, I can't even kill myself, right? Or did you just know
I knew.
this is just a higher power that's like fucking refusing to let me give up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I
good,
knew
good.
that it was, yeah, I knew. But I do know that that's valid, that some people feel like that they just couldn't kill themselves. Right.
Yeah, I've just always wondered because like
Hmm.
I remember my brother's attempts when we were teenagers.
Hmm.
He had some interesting ways of trying. He did. And they were not successful. But I just remember thinking like, God, I wonder if it hurts your feelings to like wake up from that, and be like,
Hmm.
really? I couldn't even do that
Yeah.
right. Because I think the reason I was thinking that is because my fear was I would attempt and then, but I had such a fear of hell because of my religious stuff that I was like,
Right.
no.
Oh,
Like the
girl.
time I went to therapy when I was like 18 for like 2 months, before I got with the boo, because he solved all the problems, okay? When I went to therapy, she was like, "Okay, so like, just doing a screening on me." And I was like, "All right, listen. I know you're not going to want to hear this, but there are two scales for me. How bad do I want to be dead? 10. If I could say 100, I'd say 100.
Mhm.
How likely am I to kill myself? 0, because I'm too afraid of going to hell. Like, I don't
Right.
have thoughts of actually doing it. I just wish I was dead all the time.
Mm.
And she was just like, does the safety plan, does the things. And I'm like, that's fine. I mean, I understood paperwork. I was like, okay, that's fine. And I wasn't even afraid to tell her that. But that was how I lived for lots of years. That was the problem with evolving spiritually for me, is I was no longer afraid of hell. And I very much was ready for whatever my
Mhm.
job was gonna be on the
Yeah.
other side. But man,
And
like when I think about my parents, yeah, go ahead.
that's what's that's what's amazing that I learned on the other side, from the Jesus man that, we call Jesus. I wish I got to see Buddha as well. I mean, that would have been pretty cool. But it was very strategic that when I was on the other side, I met Jesus just because I was taught that he hated the shit out of me. And
Oh,
so,
yep,
yeah, and
yep.
so, But so it was strategic that the Jesus man came, because I know a lot of people, it's like who they who they meet on the other side when they're going to come back. It's strategic. It's strategic for a
It's who
reason,
they needed. Yeah.
yeah, it could be someone from a previous lifetime. Sometimes they lived on another planet or something, or
Yes.
it could be Muhammad, it could be Jesus, it could be it just yeah. So um but the Jesus being told me hell is not real. And I knew it. I knew it while I was on the other side. I knew it while I was on the other side. I knew my human didn't know, but it's my spirit. It's like I knew already this information, but when you incarnate on earth, you come in with a spiritual amnesia, and it's just perfect for religion to grip us with fear and shoot us all kind of lies. But yes,
Yep.
I told the universe, God, higher powers, I was like, y'all know, like I do know that I was never meant to be on this earth too long. Ever since I was a kid, before I even died, before religion, you know, before I knew the damage religion was doing to me, I just already knew like I was not meant to be here long. And then I got this dream. Um, I got this dream, and I don't even know if I should call it a dream, Melissa. I promise I'm gonna tie it back to everything. I promise. It's just, but I
No,
just
listen,
gotta.
I'm here for the ride, brother.
But I knew that like okay, so there's sometimes I get these dreams slash visions, but they're so powerful. I don't know if I should call it a dream or a vision because it always comes
I
true.
You don't even have to explain it to me. I get it. I had him too.
Yes.
Yeah, I had him too.
Yes. And they come true. And so I got one. I think the most recent one that mentioned that, and it said that I was going to die between the ages of 30 to 33. Um, so if I don't leave in 2 months, I got 3 to 6 years left, and that's
Right.
fine. That's fine. I miss home, but I told the universe, I said, and I'm not suicidal. Like I don't mean this in a suicidal way. I genuinely don't mean it. Like I'm very content at peace. It's literally transition, and it's just me going home. I feel like I did my job here. However, I told universe, I was like, I'm also a human, and I do know that once I incarnated as a human, I also agreed to certain limitations that are specific to humans. That comes with us not knowing our full life plan right off the bat. Like
Sure.
we're not gonna know, um, okay, take this on this day and this on that. Like it's just gonna happen, but
Mhm.
there's a soul plan, a soul contract where it is there, and then we can also change it sometimes depending on your soul contract, whatever you choose. It's we have free will before we come here, so it's fine. But anyways, I said universe, source, God, higher power, spirit guides, higher self, spirit, Jesus, Buddha, all y'all watching out for me, if I am still meant to stay, because I know that if I don't choose to leave, like I will leave anyways by 30 to 33 by some way, shape, or form. I do know that. Like I know that. Um, but I was like, I kind of want to go home like now, but not in a suicidal way. So I was just like, there's 2 months left till August. I was like, I'm gonna enjoy my time. I'm gonna add as much love as I can to this earth, because at the end of the day, like if I do leave yesterday, I still have a legacy today. Like, so I'm just like, okay, like it's like I did good. Like, as long as I have added love to this world and love that will last even when I leave, whether it's by natural causes, whether it's a skydiving accident, because I love skydiving. I'm going this week. So I said, universe, you have 2 months, and now I think, yeah, it's still 2-ish months because August is next month, but it's still beginning of July. So I was like, universe, you have 2 months to show me, and you gotta really show me. You gotta really show my heart, because I'm like, I want to go like home, and I'm starting to see. I know a lot of people experienced. I don't. This is not this way for everyone, but I do know when it's close to someone's time, certain things will start to change. They will start to feel this type of contentment. Certain things will start to just be removed, and it's like things that would never ever ever be removed start to get removed. But that's not that way for everyone. I don't want anyone to confuse that with that meaning, oh, it's their time to leave. No, no, that does not necessarily mean that. I'm just saying, like, I just know this can be a reality for some people who I've, came across, who, died in a car accident. They came back to life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they speak of these things. So I just, I was just like, okay, I don't even mean this in a suicidal, sad way. I know that there's, um, families waiting for me. Perhaps I have children from past lives waiting for me. Like, just, because parents, I don't have that here. I don't, and it's not that they left. They were there, but they just chose not to be parents. But I
Mm-hmm.
saw it in front of me, though, because they chose to be parents to my brother.
Mm-hmm.
um and so, and that's just many, many, many things that I'm just like, I know this earth is not like my home. I know that I'm here for a short time. I know that. And I yeah, I miss home. I miss home, and I'm proud of me for how far I have come. I really have come far. And obviously I didn't do it by myself. I definitely didn't do it by myself. Um I may have walked like in my shoes, my like these shoes are mine, but I
Yeah.
definitely had people come along, people such as the higher power, spirit guides, friends, never family, but friends.
Felt.
Yeah,
Felt.
right.
And I really love when you make that decision to just like stop trying to be anything that they want you to be.
Yes.
Uh the
That's what I
little
was getting
codependent
to.
folk around the world
Mm-hmm.
that want to give some shit about it. I love that stuff, but that's your mom. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you should have told her that
Right. Like, I
because
was like, you're telling the wrong person.
yeah, remember how I was the one born to her? Oh my god, that shit drove me nuts. And even like uh the trouble with my brothers, just the worry I have for my younger brother sometimes, but my older brother, it's a whole thick mess like that I've been dealing with. And um just like I remember when he first got he had his little schizophrenic break. I was young, I was 18 years old. And I did a lot because I was real codependent. And mostly because my grandma made me feel guilty. But
Yeah.
when I started to say
Narcissism.
no, first of all, my entire family was like, no, you're the black sheep. But I remember getting really pissed at friends being like, well, I mean, yeah, you can't let him live with you, but what about your kids? Blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I hear you on that, but like, what about me? What about me? Because I also don't deserve to have this guy who like can't help that he's schizophrenic. He could help all the drugs he did to get that way though. He could help that. And also, you say, please don't turn on the stove, my gas stove. It's on. And then he's just walking in one door around the front of the house. Like he'd leave the back door, come in through the front of the house and do it all day. And smoke in the house when I told him not to, eat because it's something, part of it, I think, is a scarcity mindset, a fear,
Mm,
but also he doesn't have a shut off valve for hunger
mm,
because of some of the medications that he's taken, honestly. But the amount, I mean, I've seen him chug a gallon of milk and then vomit it up everywhere and then do it all over again. Like I love him, but I don't have to be responsible for him and I don't have to burn myself to the ground out of
mhm.
some sense of sibling loyalty
Right, right.
either. So it's like things like that. And if I had um like I feel like I've taken some hell from people because I've never ever had my children around 99% of the people I'm related to.
Mhm, mhm,
When they were small, my boys, when they were small, We visited my grandma. It wasn't until my divorce that things got so strained with her. And so there was a couple aunts and whatever, and they'd see them. But I really didn't we didn't do cousin dates. We didn't do any of that because I was like, well, why would I do that? Like, why would I put them through exactly what I went through? Because I'm not going to take them around people who think it's funny to put a small innocent child in the center of the firing squad of all the teasing. Like, I'm not going to do
Mhm.
that. And I'm
Right.
not going to let you make comments about their bodies. I'm not going to let
Exactly.
you know what I mean? All the things. I was like, why would I do that? If it
Right.
hurt me so bad, why would I then subject them to that?
Right.
I don't get it.
Right.
And so, still to this day, I will hear people talk about like they're missing out on all the love from their family. And I'm like, is that love? And
Right.
does the love
Right.
outweigh all the damage that
Right.
they're doing?
Right.
And I will just allow people to have their opinions about it now because listen, that's projection 101.
Yeah.
Okay, honey, if you are feeling a way about somebody else's decision to cut family out of their life,
Mhm.
that means you want to cut your family out of your life
Mhm.
and you don't know how. So now you got to project your stuff onto me. I mean, that's fine. If you feel that way, that's great. Keep going and doing whatever you want to do. I'm going to be over here in my lane doing
Mhm.
what I want to do with my kids. Is there times that I'm like, I wish they had more people, because they kind of don't. Like,
Mhm.
how everybody talks about like how the dad side of the family is just referred to as dad side of the family, kind of. My
Mhm.
boys and my daughter, even with her dad's family, like that's kind of how it is like they're the dad side. And my boys' grandparents and aunts and all that, they love them very much, but they've never been an active participant in their lives. Like, yes, grandparents would come to the show that they were in at school or whatever. But in terms of like spending a lot of time with them, that stopped very young, very, very
Mhm.
young. They have me, and that's kind of it. And so sometimes that makes me a little sad, but I'm like, well, but okay, do I want them to have 100 people tearing them down every minute of their lives like I did? Because listen, I had 18 cousins, okay? And I spent every holiday with most of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had our fun, but then I mean, there was so toxic dynamics in our family. We got so and so being like, yeah, so my mom said your mom, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm upset. I'm gonna tell grandma she's toxic, so she's gonna be mad at all her children for talking
Mhm.
bad about her baby girl to us. Just the holidays were wrought with some shit. I
Mhm.
look back at them with nostalgia, yes, because there was a lot of good times. Nothing that outweighed all the bad though, you
Right.
know?
Right. Right. I like how you said that. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 1000%. Yeah. It used to really just boil my blood when people would say, but that's your that's and that's your that's. I was like, you tell them that. You're telling the wrong person. I was just like,
Excuse me,
oh,
I tried. I did try to be that for them. I did.
right,
I did try. They
exactly.
rejected me.
Right,
Hello.
exactly.
Yeah.
You
No,
know
totally.
what I said, and this was like this was the time. Once I said this, um, I just instantly just felt a peace, and they didn't know what to say. I think this was like 2 years ago. Um, and for the trillionth time, I wanted to give my family one last chance. So
Mhm.
I opened up about the abuse that was happening because we were the perfect family, quote unquote, growing up. Dad's the pastor,
Oh
had a
God,
lot of
of course he
money,
was.
mom's
Uh-huh.
this. That man raped so many children,
Yeah,
yet
I'm not the
he
least bit surprised to hear that.
exactly. And I'm just like, but yet he would like beat me because I was 4 years old and he like beat me because my voice was too high. Things like that. Oh, men
Yeah.
don't do that. You know what I mean? And like, oh, gay people, that's disgusting. And now I know, like, because I found out this information recently. I was like, shut up! Like, you raped kids. Shut up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
What?
Well, but see, that's why he was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew he was
Hmm.
evil. And
Yeah.
so he's projecting that evil onto you. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Show me a pastor. Oh, I'm about to get real controversial.
Right.
I don't usually
It's
take it to
vulnerability
this level, but
time.
I'm going to say it. Show me a pastor who's preaching fire and brimstone about gay people, and I'll show you a predator.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I'll
Because
show
what they
you.
do is they closet themselves and,
Yes.
they're also gay, so there's that,
Exactly. But they're in
but they suppress
denial.
that so much
Yeah.
that it comes out in these predatory ways, like,
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
like, I feel like if Catholic priests
Mhm.
could have sex with whoever the hell they wanted to, it they wouldn't have done as much as they did with children.
Right.
I don't understand pedophilia, so I'm not going to pretend to understand the science behind this
Mhm.
thing that people have. And to be clear, I'm not like a person who's ever going to go like try to make a pedophile better. Like they're the one group on this earth I cannot see as human yet.
Mhm.
So there you
Mhm.
go. But I just think all this repression. Look at Josh Duggar.
Mhm.
Now, did the other boys do this? No. Were they just as repressed? Yes. But Josh Duggar's the oldest child of that family.
Mhm.
So we're not really surprised that all those unrealistic expectations, all that suppression, all that oppression in a little small town white family. So,
Mhm.
like, not a lot of other marginalized factors there, right?
Mhm.
But yet, he's this disgusting human being. And I honestly think that the pedophilia stuff, if I were to like throw a theory out, I think all this suppression happens and so they're secretly viewing porn and like
Mhm.
kink stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, as a person who has viewed porn for a lot of years, you
Mhm.
kind of have to up the ante. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean? You just do. You start viewing different
Right.
stuff because
Right.
the same stuff isn't going to do it forever. And I think the perversion just takes over. Like
Mhm.
because they secrets keep you sick. So when
Mhm.
they're just isolated and in this little thing, when it's all like, well, you know what you could have done instead of perpetuating this hatred is just become an advocate for the cause. Go
Mhm.
tell people that they can be worthy and valuable, whether they're gay, trans, whatever the
Exactly.
case may be. Go
Exactly.
tell them that they are worthy of love and belonging. And
Exactly.
and baby, I just think there's a part of you that still feels fundamentally at your core unlovable. I
Mhm.
don't think you would long for the other side as much if you felt really full of the fact that you are so lovable and you're so worthy and you were born with all of that worth. You don't have to earn it and it can't be taken away. It's the exact opposite of all the bullshit that we were taught about God, which is
Mm.
you're born unworthy. You can never do anything to get the worth. You just have to hope that the thing you're being taught, which is if I say this thing and I feel this thing, the whole sinner's prayer thing, that I commit my life to Christ or whatever, that is for sure going to get me into heaven. Man, for the first time ever, when I finally, because I've even been working through the worthiness blocks over the last 6 months, because mom was trying to manifest money, and I was like, I'm doing something wrong. Well,
Mhm.
I understood that I could hear the soft whisper of, are you sure? Whenever I would say to people what I just said to you, that I understood finally that nothing external of me changes my worth or value, and
Mhm.
that I was born with all the worth and value I was ever going to have because I
Yes.
don't have to do anything. But there was this
Exactly.
small part of me that just still didn't believe it.
Mhm.
And so that's what I've been working through is like, I felt the switch. When I felt it, I was like, oh, okay, here it is. Because
Mm.
it is different. And you do start to embody the characteristics of somebody who knows I can fuck up as much as I want. And it's not going to
Mhm.
matter. Because am I going to receive natural consequences for things? Absolutely.
Mhm.
None of those are going to involve fear, shame, doubt,
Mhm.
unworthiness,
Right. Mhm.
hiding,
Mhm.
isolation, none of that. It's going to be me being like, oh, I probably didn't do that the right way. I mean, I feel like I told you the story of cussing someone out on the phone when we were doing our pre interview, but helping my schizophrenic brother, Social Security put his money on a card for a company called Direct Express,
Mhm.
who I've now making it my mission to take that company down.
Mhm.
And I went through hell. We actually finally just got this resolved yesterday. It's been a whole month of some BS. And you know, I was disgruntled when she answered the phone because I'd been waiting 50 minutes and it was my birthday. And I'm doing this nice thing for him. And it's turning, into this hellacious experience. And she being rude, she won't let me help him because she says no third party help. She's cutting me off. That's
Yeah.
that's a real quick way to get me upset. Anyway, I cussed her up one side and down another whenever she was finally hanging up the call because, he is disabled. He needs
Yeah.
help with this phone call and you're not letting me and I'm getting pissed at him. Baby, I am this close to my phone yelling with everything in me. You are a literal piece of shit human. Because we were facing him going back to the streets without this money.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any to help him right now. So
Right.
that's the
Right.
thing, too. I'm also dealing with my own shame that I can't provide for
Mm-hmm.
him. Well, not that I'm supposed to, but there's that sisterly part of me that still comes out. It's a part that I got to work with to catch up. Like, baby,
Mm-hmm.
you're not. And the one thing that's really helped me with this, with family stuff, is viewing them as any other human, because that's what we're all family, we're all humans,
Right.
we're all interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, do I have any more responsibility to him
Mm-hmm.
than anybody else just because I'm related by blood to him? And
Mm-hmm.
the answer to that is no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
have a deep responsibility to myself and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I'm in tip top shape to continue on this mission of showing people there is the other side
Mm-hmm.
to this, that you can
Yes.
live and not just white knuckle through life, but like love
Mm-hmm.
being alive, love what you're doing, being
Mm-hmm.
so full of purpose and passion that you just you're good. You'd never want to go back to what we were before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. That's beautiful. Yes, yes. This is a very beautiful, beautiful. I enjoyed this conversation,
Me
Melissa.
too. I'm so happy that you were so vulnerable.
Thank you, because to continue being vulnerable, I was feeling like a bit of a fraud for the past week or two because I was holding information back, knowing that you know, this is vulnerability time, and this is something that I truly just encourage humanity to normalize vulnerability, and be vulnerable when they're safe, of course,
Well,
because
that's the key right there, though.
mm-hmm,
I mean, of course you were holding on to it. You weren't safe to share it.
mm,
It like took you a minute to step into the container of safety that you have
mm-hmm,
created for yourself
yeah.
to be able to share this piece of you. And I think probably too, like if you were anything like me, you didn't want anyone trying to talk you out of it.
That's exactly what that's like a 95%
Hmm.
the reason.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah. So, yeah. But Melissa, I would love to have you back on this podcast this season. So, by the end of this month, I'll be reaching back out and seeing if you want to, come in on for another episode. Love to have you.
I'm yours anytime you want me.
Yes. Remember, folks, to check out any links in the episode description below. Go support Melissa. Um, Melissa, I'm gonna close the episode, but stay on just like one more minute. I gotta tell you something. It's
Okay.
it's nothing about vulnerability. It's just about like when the release date is, everyone. Um,
They're like, what secrets now?
right there. That's like what secrets? That's hilarious. Okay. Well, folks, this has been another episode of Vulnerability Time. I'm your host, Josiah Abriel. Thank you again to Melissa for coming here and sharing yourself with us and for helping to heal the world. Folks, I like to leave off with a little challenge. Um, Message 1 to 2 people that they are important. There you go. Just nothing too much. I get
I
social
like
anxiety is
that.
a thing. Nothing too much. Just 1 or 2 people. It can be through text. It can be through phone call. It can be in person, a FaceTime. Hey, just some way, shape, or form. You just never know who needs to hear it, and sometimes people don't realize that they need to hear it. So do it, do it, do it.
Do it.
Alrighty, folks. I will see y'all next episode for whatever. That will be why, because the release schedule is not finished, but episodes are being released every day, or at least once every 2 days. But if not, every day. Yes. Alrighty. Bye folks. Get on out of here.
Bye.